Here's the thing with Mitch Williams and Tom Arnone. We got a lot to talk about. We'll have a catch with Mitch at the end of the show. Upcoming week of games for the Phillies. We got a Florida road trip. Phillies lose yesterday and lose the National Series. And Nikki C is our only All-Star representative. That and much more coming up on Here's the Thing. Hit the like, subscribe, follow. Let's go.
Oh my God! Oh my! Embarrassed! You're flying!
Welcome in. It's almost time. Welcome in, everybody, to Here's the Thing with Mitch Williams and Tom Arnone. Appreciate you all out there tuning in. We are brought to you every Monday by Phillies Sports Strips. Hey, Birds, Phillies fans, Tom Arnone with some huge news. Phillies Sports Strips, they've released their Eagles schedule, Phillies schedule already out. You can book for Clearwater next year, already ready. You can reserve it today. Make sure you go see my friends at phillysportstrips.com and reserve your spot today. They book at the best hotels. You have the best former players available. No better place. Book now and tell them A2D sent you. We got a bunch to talk about. We'll have a catch with Mitch at the end of the show like we do every week. And every week we're going to build in some different questions, not only in today's game, but we'll go backwards. We'll go into the past a little, back to the future. We'll do a little back to the future with Mitch when we have a catch with him at the end of the show. Upcoming week of games for the Phillies. Got a tough stretch, right? Start out tomorrow in Tampa and then head to Miami. We'll talk about this stretch coming up. Phillies lose yesterday. Terrible loss. We'll dissect it. We'll get into it. And they lose the series against the Nationals after sweeping Chicago in Wrigley. They come home. You figure, hey, even if you take 2 out of 3, you're in great shape. They don't. We'll talk about that in the second part of the show. But Nick Castellanos is the Phillies All Star representative. He's the only one that was elected to the All Star game. Ties into our poll question that's brought to you by FanUp. FanUp is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily MLB contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D. You get $50 right at sign up. You can download FanUp on the Apple Store. Nick Castellanos was the only worthy player of being the Phillies All-Star representative this year. Do you agree or disagree? You can let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, that's where we're live. And everywhere you get your podcast, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow, turn your alerts on, turn that little bell on, and let's talk about it. Mitch, what do you think? Agree or disagree?
I'm kind of on the fence. I absolutely agree that Nick deserved to be an all-star this year. The only other player on this Phillies team so far this year that I thought could have been worthy because of his offense and his defense, that's Bryson Stott. I think he'll be an all-star for years to come. This kid is just now growing up in this game. He's just getting started. So he'll get his all-star nods in the future. But for Nick to come back after the way his first year in Philly went and do what he's doing this year is absolutely impressive and absolutely worthy of being an all-star.
Absolutely, Mitch. I couldn't agree more. What a response. Tough city to play in. You know it. I know it just from being here for a long time. Not the easiest city to play in. And when you have a year like that, after signing a deal like that with all those expectations, and you fail, right? And it's okay. But he never let – and I think I knew he was going to have a good year this year when I saw his ABs never go to the field with him, right? I saw his ability to leave it where it was and still go make plays in the field when he's not an A-plus defender, but he looked like it at times during our postseason run. So
the postseason run, he definitely made some plays that saved the Phillies bacon. There's no question about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I know he's absolutely an all-star, and what a response here, like you said. And I agree to the poll, too, because the only guy that I can maybe make a case for is the guy you said, which is Bryson Stott. I think there'll be one day where he will get there, but I think he's way too borderline to jump some guys with his numbers. And besides that, I know, Dynasty brought up JT, but he's not having a good year. So
JT is not an all-star. I'm sorry. His performance in the first half is nowhere near all-star caliber. So I don't even think that's a discussion.
No, not even a discussion. It's like I like JT, but nobody's been more critical of JT Realmuto than Tom Arnone, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with being on my own island. And at times he's the best catcher in baseball. Yeah, he is. There's other times Will Smith's better. I hate to break the news to people. Like there's sometimes Will Smith's better. Now Salvador Perez, he's over in the American League, doesn't matter. But here in the National League, there's times that Will Smith's a better player. I hate to say it.
He is, and it's not just defense. Defense plays a big part in it. But back when Pudge Rodriguez was the best throwing catcher in the game, he called fastball after fastball after fastball because he did not want guys stealing bases on him. So, I've had an issue with some of the ways that JT calls the game. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm just not. The one knee down, he's athletic enough to make it work, but there's times when if he caught traditionally, there aren't going to be balls that kick off him and end up in an extra base. So I'm sorry. I love, as a man, I can't argue with what JT is. He's everything I've heard about him. He's a great guy, good guy in the clubhouse, but far from an all-star this year.
Yeah, very far from it this year. And you're right. Like, listen, the guy's a grinder. He wants to be out there every day. I love him as a player. I have, like any player, you have issues at times, right? Or critiques, right? It's probably the better word. Critiques. The only other guy that can maybe sneak in his conversation, but he missed at least 13 games, maybe
Alvarado.
more. Is him too, but just staying in the lineup for a second is Bomer. I mean, Alec Bohm is the only other guy, numbers-wise, that you can maybe make the case for. He's batting .277. He leads the team, or is tied with Nicky in RBIs at 54, and he's played 11 less games than Nick, right? He's played 12 less or 13 less games than Schwarber, who's played every day. So the guy's missed 13 games, tied with the team lead in RBIs, has 9 homers, almost double digits there. But again, I think he missed too many games. So that's why Alec didn't get in. But Alvarado was another one, to your point, but did he miss too many games too?
If he hadn't got hurt, the way he was throwing the baseball, he would have been an all-star. Craig Kimbrell, the way he's throwing the ball, could be an all-star, but he doesn't have the save numbers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The way that this bullpen is used, until they started going to Kimbrell as the everyday closer, this bullpen was so jumbled, no one knew what their job was. Now it's to the point where, okay, well, the guy saved 400 games at the big league level for a reason. He knows how to close out a game. Alvarado, since he's come back, has been kind of harem-scarum. His mechanics are a little bit off. He's nowhere near as smooth mechanically as he was before he got hurt. So I think it's incumbent upon Rob Thompson to put the back end of the bullpen in roles so they know what their role is. It's that simple. If you know what your role is, you can prepare for it. If you don't, and the phone rings and you're sitting there, well, I wonder if it's me. No, it can't be that way.
No, you're right. You're right. I've never been good with that kind of stuff, right? I've always been a believer of the same type of thing, where I want to know where guys are slotted into.
Yes.
I feel like as a player, you want to know that, and he's got a couple guys back there, so he's never really committed to one. Right? He's all about the leverage. Robbie T hasn't managed well this year. Just to help the people out there, right? He gets a free pass this year. We're not going to fire a manager every year, but he has not managed well.
No.
And maybe there's a reason on why, and not a shot. People need to understand it's not a shot. There might be a reason on why he was a bench coach for 20 years. Might be a reason.
There might be. The way he motivated this team last year, coming in, doing the job he did, I think all he did last year was just come in and not be so critical of the players. The players were able to relax after Girardi was fired. And I think that Rob did a great job of that, took them to a World Series. But I'm sorry, you are not going to win consistently at the big league level if your players do not know their roles. You have to know your role in order to prepare for it. Case in point, yesterday, about not doing a good job of managing the game. When Alec Boehm came up, I believe there's guys on first and second, or maybe it was just a guy on first. But he lets him swing away after the pitcher just walked the previous hitter and went 3-0 on Alec. Now, granted, Alec Boehm had good numbers against the guy, but Finnegan. But I'm sorry, you put the pressure on that pitcher to throw strikes. Had he taken and gotten a walk, Hall comes up and almost took Finnegan's head off. That's a tie game.
Yep.
If he just plays the game the way it used to be played and have trust in the guys behind you. That right there perpetuated a lack of trust in the guys behind you by letting Rob Thompson letting Boehm swing away 3-0.
I just don't understand it, Mitch, right? Like at every level, right? I got an automatic 3-0 take at the amateur level. It's not even up for debate. I don't care how good you are, because getting on base, like, this is the thing. I feel like people think, and I'm not gonna say pro guys think this, but you see it through the younger levels, right? Especially the younger levels, where like a walk's a bad thing. Like, when's a walk a bad thing? That's another guy on base. That's pressure. Right?
On the pitcher.
On the pitcher. Like, he's struggling. Why am I even going to have it? Like, what's the chances if you barreling and hitting the ball out of the ballpark right there? Probably not as high as him throwing ball 4.
Exactly. Alec Boehm did have good numbers against Finnegan. But the second it went to 3-0, the pressure is heaped on that pitcher. Because if he walks him, now he's got first and second, nobody out, and the left-hander and Hall coming up.
Yep.
Which, like I said, he smoked that ball back up the middle. That's a tie game. Even if Stott doesn't score from second, which I believe he would have, now they got bases loaded and nobody out. And a chance to win the game. It's about shifting the pressure. You shift the pressure from the hitter to the pitcher. The minute you go 3-0, all that pressure is off the hitter to just stand there and take. The worst thing I used to see when I went 3-0 on a guy was a guy do this and just set the bat on his shoulder because I knew he was taking.
Which makes it harder, right, Mitch?
9 times out of 10, I'm going to throw ball 4.
Yep.
If a guy swung off me 3-0 and popped up, you have no idea the energy and confidence that gave me. And that's all it did for Finnegan. The minute Boehm swung at that ball, he hit it hard, but nothing out of it. You don't do that. Not when you're in the late innings of a game. I'm sorry. It's just, it's not good managing.
No, it's not. It's a simple take there. Again, I just think that these guys, like, almost, I don't want to say there's like too much respect for the player, but the game's gotten like soft in a way where it's like, well, do I want to take the bat out of his hands? They're like that's what we're talking about bunting, right? Like, yeah, I do. 3-0. I want to take the bat out of 1 through 9. I want the bat out of their hands. Actually, just lay it down on the plate. I might just start telling guys, just lay it down. And just go up with no bat, just hold like this, and let me see if that guy throws you a strike. Because I'm going to book it. Like you said, 9 times out of 10, if I can just lay my bat down and go like this, that guy is not throwing me a strike.
He's not throwing
me a strike.
I'm telling you, I went through it. I lived through it. When I got 3-0 on guys, and they set the bat on their shoulder, and I knew they were taking, ball 4 was coming next.
Yeah,
I can almost guarantee it, because when you start thinking like that, wait, these guys don't think I can throw a strike, and he was struggling to throw strikes. His fastball was running up and away, and I'm not sure Boehm didn't swing at ball 4.
Yeah.
It was a ball up.
You're right. And, like, I always have a problem with this, too, like, in certain situations, like 3-0. Like, I'm even a believer sometimes, maybe throw me 2 of them. Throw me 2 of them. Because I'm not scared to hit with 2 strikes, and 3-2 is even more meaning that you have to come back to me with your best pitch.
Exactly. And I just don't believe there's any way in the world the Phillies lose that game yesterday if Alec Boehm has a take on the 3-0 pitch.
And one other thing, since we're dissecting into that game a little bit, because we did open the show about Nicky C being the lone All-Star representative, and does anybody else really deserving to go? And the answer is no, right? No. And then we got in, and then we're going to segue into this national series and a little bit of the Cubs. And look back at last week. But a big part of that is, again, where I've seen Brandon Marsh and Kyle Schwarber not communicate on a routine fly ball to center field. This is twice now in the last, I want to say in the last 10 days. We're at home, too, where they haven't communicated and a ball drops down. Inexcusable. And if Brandon Marsh doesn't want to take control in center field, he can come out of a seat and I can run Christian Pache out there every day. Right?
Well, for my money, Marsh has done a good job in center. But the center fielder, number one, if I got Kyle Schwarber playing left field and I'm the center fielder, I am taking every ball I can get to. Every single one of them. Not to be selfish, just to be smart. Because Brandon Marsh is a better outfielder than Kyle Schwarber. You can ask Kyle. He'll tell you that.
Yeah.
We're not pointing out something that everybody doesn't know already. So that kind of stuff cannot happen. And you see it happen at the big league level, and it infuriates me. I remember years ago that someone from the Rangers had a no-hitter going, or someone against the Rangers had a no-hitter going. And there was a fly ball hit to right field, and Alex Rios, the right fielder, is coming in. He's got the ball. Kinsler, the second baseman, calls him off, and Rios stops, and the ball falls in, and they called it a hit and broke up the no-hitter. That is not a hit. That is an error. It's a communication error. I got an argument with Harold Reynolds on the air about this. He said, well, it didn't touch leather. I said, okay. Well, then in the 86 World Series, Buckner shouldn't have got an error because that ball never touched leather when it went under his legs. Yeah. That's the stupidity of the argument. At the big league level, there should never be a communication issue.
No, there shouldn't be. And when you just said it, and everybody in the chat said it too. I see everybody's commenting in. Love you all. Tristan, Greg, Philly Sports Hustle, Don, Jake, Pete claiming I'm losing weight. Good. Thanks, Pete. Brenda chiming in. Chrome, Dynasty. Appreciate everybody. Everything's Brandon Marsh's ball out there. Going to your right side, going to your left side.
Wait,
know who you're playing with.
Philly Sports Hustle, I'm not quite sure Kyle won't have a problem letting Brandon run balls down versus him. I can promise you Kyle won't have a problem with that.
No.
He knows his limitations. He did not get signed here in Philly to be a left fielder every day. He got signed to have his bat in the lineup. He knows his deficiencies and he knows his strengths. And Marsh is a very solid center fielder. He just has to understand to be loud and call off everything he can get to, he should take.
Yeah, because he's you could see it when you rewatch it again, and I did again this morning just to see it again, right? And you can already see before that ball's landing, Kyle's already getting out of Dodge. He's already clearing space, so there isn't even a question on, hey, Brandon, you got out for this or whatever. It's yours. You go take it. So when you rewatch it again, it's clear. But again, listen, Ranger got to go make pitches after that, okay? And he didn't, right? But that's where it all started. You cannot lose yesterday, right? You cannot. You can't sweep the Cubs, come home against the Washington Nationals. And I said to my dad, listen, he's like, oh, they can't. They should have swept this year. They said, listen to me. Sweeping's all good. They just need to take 2 out of 3. That's all they had to do. They didn't have to go sweep them. You don't need extra pressure. You have to sweep everybody. Just go win the series. And you're up 3-0 in that baseball game. And after the grand slam, you grounded into three straight innings.
Double
6th,
plays.
7th, 8th. All ground ball double plays to get you out of it. That runs you out of an inning, right? So the bats didn't come to play yesterday. And somebody talked about needing a first baseman. And I'll say this quickly. What's going to happen soon is that's going to be Bryce Harper's position for the rest of this year, right? He's going to go play first base. The second he plays first base, I have to DH Kyle Schwarber. I immediately have to get him out. So if you're looking for something to add, right, moving forward, and we'll talk about the deadline and stuff as it gets closer. But when you're looking to add something, you could go out a left fielder. You got one of your top 10 prospects is a left fielder or a center fielder or whatever. He's an outfielder, and he's lighting the world on fire down in AAA right now. So there's options. But once that happens, Kyle won't be playing left field anymore unless you're trying to get Bryce off his feet or somebody else.
And Bryce is gonna play some first base. I watched him yesterday. They did a little clip of him throwing. His mechanics have been changed, and that's a great thing. To see him with his front side involved and pulling down and getting his arm up here rather than being all underneath the ball. And you could see it when he first came up. But, and I heard John Kruk talking about this. There's times when you have to throw the ball sidearm when you play first base. Well, when you throw sidearm and you're coming off an injury like that, it's like Tom House always taught me. He said, look at Dan Quisenberry, the old submariner from the Kansas City Royals. If you stand him up, his elbow is still above his shoulder. He's just bent over doing it. And Bryce just needs to learn, if he's going to throw sidearm, he's got to take his chest down. Get your chest down so your elbow can still be above your shoulder.
Makes a lot of sense too. And Krucker's right, obviously. You know, you're gonna have to make some throw sidearm and from different arm slots to be able to not, so you don't plunk a runner in the back of the head.
Well,
so
the hardest thing Bryce is going to have to learn at first base, and I watched it. Remember Evan Gaddis?
yes.
They put Evan Gaddis at first base. He couldn't catch a pop-up, and he did not know which foot to stride with. You always put your throwing arm foot on the bag. He used his glove hand foot, which shortens your stride by an unbelievable amount.
Like little league stuff.
Exactly. I mean? Bryce is only going to have to learn angles. If he's got a guy on first, ground ball hit to him, all he's got to do is get behind the runner towards the outfield or inside the runner to make the throw. That's going to be the most difficult thing for him to do.
Yeah, crazy.
The rest of it, Bryce Harper is an athlete. He caught in high school. He pitched in high school. He's done everything you can do on a baseball field. I'm not the least bit worried about him. Number one, you put him at first base and there's a hard ball hit at it, he'll just throw his chest in front of it.
Yeah, I
He's
do love
knock
that part
it down.
of it. Right,
He's
I do.
Going to knock
we
the
agree
ball
there.
down.
We agree there. And that might be like the very beginning, to your point, Mitch, like he's played everywhere. Maybe the very beginning, the first week, right? A couple hard hit grounders to him is going to be a little bit of an adjustment of stuff he's just not fully used to. But he played baseball his whole life. I mean, this guy was the best player on every team he's played on growing up. So he's played everywhere. This isn't going to be new. Fielding a ground ball at first base and running to the bag, right? This isn't brain surgery. And I talk to my guys about it all the time. If you know what foot to use and you can catch a baseball and stretch a little bit, you can play first base.
You just can't stretch before the throw is made.
Yep.
That's the biggest mistake first basemen make. They stretch out before they know where the throw is coming or where it's going. I played first base. And when I signed, I did not want to pitch. I wanted to play first base because I was good at it. Bryce, let's just put it this way. Bryce is not an outfielder. He's not an infielder. He's not a catcher. He's not a pitcher. He is a baseball player. I don't believe there's anyone on the planet that knows more about the game of baseball than Bryce Harper. He is an absolute student of every part of the game. So I'm not the least bit worried about him playing first.
I don't think there's a bigger compliment that you could give a player than you just did, right? I mean,
look at what he did.
Yeah,
he had to leave high school. After his junior year, he had to leave high school and go to a junior college because no one would pitch to him.
It's crazy.
And then he went and he had put up stupid numbers as a 16 or 17-year-old senior in high school playing in college. So this guy knows the game of baseball. You will find out right away, first ground ball hit to him, where pitcher's covering, if Bryce knows how to follow the throw underhand. You don't flip your wrist, you stiff wrist it, lead the guy going to the bag.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the intricacies that he's going to have to learn. I believe he's probably already learned them.
I would venture to guess, to your point, that he, like, people think, and you know this better than anybody, right? But some people at home think these guys just show up an hour before the game, like you do in travel ball. No, like they're there all day. They're there all day, and they're working on things all day.
All day long. He's taking ground balls at first. He's got a pitcher running to first base, so he learns how to make that feed to the bag. Trust me, he has done it all. When he finally takes the position at first base, I don't see any issue with it. Look at Alec Boehm. Alec Boehm has played a spectacular first base. He's played a good third base this year. But Derek Hall, he is going, if Bryce is healthy and ready to throw, Derek Hall is going to be a left-handed bat off the bench. That's all there is to it.
And rightfully so, right? Rightfully so with Derek Hall. All right, real quick, we'll take a commercial break, and we'll be right back. We'll continue talking about the Phillies' last week of games, and we're going to look ahead a little bit because starting tomorrow, we're in Tampa for 3 and Miami for 3. So 6 big games coming up here again for our Fightins. So on the other side, we will talk about it. So everybody, stay where you're at. Don't go anywhere.
Hey Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
Mitch Williams here. If your company ships freight, join my winning team at Raymond Transportation Corporation. Let us become part of your team. RTC has been serving shippers nationwide for 26 years. With 10 terminals located throughout the U.S., volume LTL, small LTL, truckload, and rail. You can count on RTC to be the closer you need. I know firsthand that the Delaware Valley demands accountability. Call me at 800-206-3983 to schedule a meeting. Give me one shipment, and we will earn the rest.
Welcome back, everybody.
That's a fact.
Facts are facts. Sorry, but give me 1 second here. And producing, double dipping. But we're back. Here's the thing. That's Mitch Williams. I'm Tom Arnone. We started the show out talking about Nicky C. He's our lone All-Star representative this year. And if you told me that before the season started, I would tell you that's a failure. Not that I really care that much about who makes the All-Star game, but that's a failure. That's an indictment on a couple guys. Indictment on Zach Wheeler, in my opinion. JT,
Trey Turner,
who I just left out there. So indictment on some players for sure. That I have a problem with that need to have big second halves of this season for us to get into the dance again. It's just
I cannot understand the inconsistency in Trey Turner's at bats. I mean, now he is flattening he's starting to waggle his bat down here now, but then at the last second, he pops it up and wraps it back around his head. When all he does is bring his barrel up and take the knob down, now he's a dangerous hitter. But he's missing pitches right down the middle. He took a ball for strike 3 yesterday that he thought was a ball.
Yeah, he did.
And it's not a ball. There's so much movement in his approach, up and down, and with the wrap, the inconsistency is mind-boggling to me because it's so easy to fix, like we've talked about, Tom, on a batting tee. You can fix your approach just on a bat. You don't even need a coach. All you need is a batting tee and a video camera. And if you can't get that fixed, same thing with JT. If he can't figure out that he's not getting back to closed with his front foot, that's on him. And they wonder why they're hitting under 250. I don't wonder at all why they're hitting under 250.
No, if you told me both of those guys were under 250, like if you told me in March, hey, Tom, by July, Trey Turner and JT are going to be batting under 250, I tell you, this team's lucky to even be 500. And the fact that they're 5 games over 500 shows you just how talented they are as a group to be able to weather the storm like they have from early on in the season.
I'll tell you what, this next 6 games, this is going to be a test. These guys down in Florida, they don't lose one-run games. I mean, the Marlins themselves are behind. They've given up more runs than they've scored. And the last time I saw, they were 11 games over 500.
They just find ways to win baseball games. Before we get into that topic, because I did have one of the questions with the catch with you at the end of the show was about the All Star game. So instead of waiting for there, since we were talking about that, start the show off, I wanted to hit you with this one real quick. Other than the financial bonus, the accolades on the career resume, the players actually care about the All Star game itself.
They should, because it determines home field advantage in the World Series. Back when I made the All Star team, I damn sure cared about it. I was proud of it. Mm-hmm. I only made one, but when I got that phone call and I was sitting in the bullpen in Chicago one day, and Don Zimmer called the bullpen and said, "Put Mitch on the phone." I picked up the phone. I said, "Hey, Zim." He goes, "Hey, you made the All Star team." For me, that was really, really cool, because that tells you you're one of the best that year. I never made another one, but that year I made the All Star team. It meant a ton to me, because it meant all the hard work that I had put in led somewhere.
Somebody notices.
Yes.
Right? Somebody notices outside of getting a contract, outside of your team believing in you, as a whole, the league, right? The league, other players, fans, however it's voted, it's voted on different ways, right? On how you get in.
Relievers and pitchers are chosen.
Yep.
They are not voted in. So I look at that and I went, well, I believe the manager at the time was Buck, the Montreal man, Buck Rogers.
Buck Rogers.
And he was great. So I was chosen by another manager in my league to be on his All-Star team that he was managing. Mm-hmm. That meant a lot to me. It should mean a lot that you're representing the team you're playing for in an All-Star game. And especially now that it determines home field advantage in the World Series. You have to have that mean something.
How could you not? You could tell it meant something to Nick, right? Because immediately his mom tweets out, "Nick called, we're going to Seattle," right? So when you immediately call mom, you know how much it means to guys. And I could go there 10 times. I could be a 10-time All-Star. And every year that accomplishment would mean more and more and more and more and more to me as a player. Because like you said, that's your peers, right? Other managers around baseball, whatever, deciding if you're going or not. And for a guy like Nick, same thing. You're not voted in by the fans. You're now selected.
You're chosen.
Now you're chosen, which even means more to me than the fans voting me in. Fans voting me in is a great accomplishment. That can become a popularity contest. We know. But to get chosen means a lot. And I would venture to guess 99% of these guys, it means something to.
Well, it should. A lot of guys just want the 3 days off.
Yeah,
I didn't want the 3 days off. My best year was probably 91 with the Phillies. I finished 6th in the Cy Young. I never even knew I finished 6th in Cy Young until I went to work at MLB Network. So I didn't make the All-Star team that year, but that's not why I played the game, was to make an All-Star team. If it happened, great. It meant that I was helping my team win. And the year that I went, 4 guys from our team went. Ryan Sandberg, Andre Dawson, Rick Sutcliffe, and myself. So I got to go to that All-Star game with 2 Hall of Famers from that Cub team.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it meant a lot to me.
It does, especially when you look around, right? And back then you pinch yourself and you say, man, look who I'm on the field with today. Right?
Exactly.
Look at all these
I still
stars.
have the picture up, the team picture up in my room from that All-Star game. And I don't know if there's anything that I look back on and I look at all these guys and the Hall of Famers that are in this picture, that makes me proud. The World Series team I played on here in Philly, I'm more proud of than anything I ever accomplished with another group of guys ever, because there was no way in hell we were supposed to win anything. We were picked to finish behind the expansion Marlins that year.
Yep. And speaking about the Marlins, we're going to talk about that series coming up in a second. A real quick announcement. Hey, Birds fans and Phillies fans, Tom Arnone with some huge news. Phillies Sports Trips has released their Eagles schedule. Make sure you go see my friends on phillysportstrips.com and reserve your spot today. Not only you get to watch an Eagles game in a great city, they book at the best hotels. And for our Phillies diehards, the Clearwater schedule already out. You can reserve your spot right now. So go to phillysportstrips.com and book your getaway today and tell them A2D sent you. So we have 3 in Tampa starting tomorrow and 3 in Miami tomorrow. But another one of the questions I was saving for the end, but it plays right into now. Mitch, does the Miami nightlife have any impact on how visiting teams play while they're in Miami? The Phillies traditionally struggle to beat the Marlins year after year. Is that from the nightlife, or is it just a lack of focus against a bad team? What do you think it is?
I can't tell you because I'm not part of the team. I honestly can't. I don't know whether it's a lack of focus or guys going out and staying out too late. I mean, I was always told by managers, look, there's a 12:30 bed check. And I would tell my managers, if you check my room at 12:30, my bed will be there. You have to know how to manage your time. And if you can't go out and come back in the next day and perform at your utmost, then you can't go out. When I managed that team in Atlantic City, the guy they fired, Tommy Helms, was the manager. I was the pitching coach. He was all over these guys on this team about getting in, curfews, this, that, and the other thing. My very first meeting I had with the team after I became manager, I don't care what you do at night, but when you walk through that door of that locker room, you better be ready to play baseball. And if you ain't playing, period. It's that simple. You have to know what you're capable of doing and still go out and perform your job.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So how are we feeling about this trip coming up? And do we think they're going to go down there and take care of business for once? Are we going to have a good road trip down in Miami?
Honestly, I'll be happy if they go 3-3. If they can split the 6 games between the 2 teams, to me, that'd be a successful trip. Anything above that is gravy. If they can gain ground on the Marlins, that's great. But the Rays, they ain't no joke either.
No, they're really good. They've been pretty much playing 500 baseball since their red hot start, but they're still a good baseball team. Still a good baseball team, and if you don't go down there ready to play, you could easily get swept right out of Tropicana Field. So this team needs to go down there ready to play because this is an important trip. Like you said, I think I'd be happy with the 3-3 too.
Yeah.
Love for a way for them to find 4-2, and I'd really love for them to find a way to go take 2 out of 3 in Miami. You know, a place they haven't played great baseball at.
Think about it. The Cy Young Award winner has a 5 ERA for the Marlins. So the rest of that pitching staff is doing something really right. So the Phillies lineup had better go down there and focus, concentrate, and just take care of business. In order to gain ground in a division, you have got to beat the teams above you in your division. You have to. I don't care if it's on the road or at home. If you're going to make your presence known in the National League East, you better start chipping away at the teams above you.
No, you have to. You have to. And I don't know. You know, they listen, we played really good baseball too. So, you know, we've done our part over this last month of getting ourselves back into this conversation, right? It just so happens that 2 teams in our division, per se, have been red hot as well in Miami and the Braves. So, we've caught up in the wild card conversation. I think anybody thinking that we're going to catch up division-wise, like we talked about last week, I think that's just out the door a little bit.
I think just worrying about a wild card spot is shooting so low, aiming so low. If I'm this team, I'm doing everything I can do to try and catch the Braves. Everything I can do. And the Braves, they're a good baseball team, but they are not that much better than the Phillies. There's no way they're that much better than the Phillies. With the players the Phillies have on this roster, the bullpen they have, the starting pitching they have, I think they may have found a fifth starter in Sanchez.
Yep.
So they are set up for the second half of the season to go out there and do damage. But if the guys in this lineup, between Turner and JT, they're making $60 million and they're both hitting under 250.
No, you're right. Listen, when you talk about player talk, right, as a competitive junkie, I'm saying I'm shooting to get the Braves, even though I'm 12 out, right?
Yes.
That's my goal, always my goal. As a fan sitting at home or just doing this, I'm saying you're probably not catching them, right, fan-wise. So me personally, I'm thinking like, all right, I'm just shooting for wild cards right now. And if for some reason I win 15 out of 16 or 16 out of 18 or whatever, 18 out of 20, and I somehow gain ground on them, which I'm going to venture to guess if I'm winning 18 out of 20, they're probably winning 19 out of 20 the way they've gone this year. But you're right. Everything you said is right with our payroll, with our talent. Forget the payroll. We'll take the payroll out of it. We're just going to look at talent. The talent alone.
Straight up talent.
These teams are neck and neck, and they should be. The fact that they're not, again, is an indictment on the Phillies and their horrendous start again. Because these 2 years in a row that we've come out the gates with terrible starts. So, I'm going to make a petition to Major League Baseball. They ask for them to play us in warm weather places to start the season for the first 2 weeks. Maybe that will change something. I doubt it.
I don't know if it's going to change anything because warm weather has nothing to do with wrapping your bat around your head or not getting closed.
No, I'm reaching.
Kevin Long is supposed to be one of the best hitting coaches in the game. How he has not addressed this with JT and with Trey, and maybe he has, and they're being hard-headed about it, or they're just not making the adjustment. But it's so simple to see when I just sit on my ass at home watching them. It's so apparent why they're not hitting.
Mitch,
it jumps off the television screen at me.
Mitch, you've been saying it now since the first show we've done. We've been saying it every single week, right? Every single week we say it. And then there's some weeks where you'll text me and be like, look, it was so much better. That's why it's consistently hit. And then he goes, and then he falls right back into it.
Right back into a bad habit. And everyone wants to worry about Bryce Harper's power.
Yeah, who cares?
They should be thrilled that Bryce Harper's in this lineup. He's still hitting close to 300. His power will come back. But if he's up there 6 months, 7 months out of Tommy John, and he's able to make adjustments to what he can do now, which what he can do now is put the ball in play. That's what he's doing. He's putting the ball in play. His power numbers are going to jump in the second half as he gets stronger. But if he can do it and make those adjustments and adjust to the fact that he doesn't have the pop that he's going to have, why can't Trey Turner and JT make the adjustments they need to make? That's the part I don't get.
That's the tough question, right?
Yeah,
because I agree with you. I do think his power is going to come. I'm not the least bit concerned of it. We've had this talk where he can't lift the way you would usually lift and work out the way you would usually work out. And and we've seen it. We've seen videos. The guy gets after it. He gets after it in the all season and during the season. So I bet you now he's probably each week that goes on that we talk, his restrictions are less and less, right? It's just the way it goes. But remember, this, people out there may forget, he's still not he's still what, 7 months removed?
7 months.
So it's still early in the process. So it's got to be kid gloves. It's got to be very kid glove-ish here to make sure it doesn't happen again. So I'm still sure he can't pump and do some of the workout stuff he's used to doing, even though he can probably do some stuff, right? But I'm sure there's still little restrictions that are over his head. But once those are clear and this guy can get back to his workouts, right? Even without him, the home run number is going to come a little bit as the season goes on and as he gets stronger. But like, it's not like next year the guy's not going to come out and hit 40 or 35, right? It's just what he does.
What
I'm not
people
worried about
have to understand, when you have a bat in your hand, your top hand is a guide. Your power is your bottom hand, your front hand, your front arm. Your top hand is just a guide on that bat. You're doing this. Go up to the plate and try and hit with just your top hand. See if you can hit a ball out of the infield. There ain't many people that could do it. Your bottom hand is where all your strength and your swing comes from. It's what leads the bat through the zone. And people have to understand that. The 3 home runs he's got right now are just a product of doing things right. In the second, I'll make you a bet right now. I bet you he hits 15 home runs in the second half. I can see.
All right, over or under, family. Over or under, everybody out there. You over 15 or under?
I can see the difference because he wears that blue sleeve or black sleeve. I can already see the muscular difference in his front arm. He's getting stronger every single day. So fans just have to understand that. That front arm, that is everyone's power.
Yep. He's a lefty, righty like myself, right? And it's just, you got to be able to pull it through. And you're right, it does look stronger. It keeps getting stronger. It will continue to get stronger, right?
Yes.
It will. It will. Anybody's ever done a top hand drill, very hard to drive a baseball with your top hand.
Top hand is a guide. That's it. The bottom hand is the power.
I'm going to go over with you, Mitch, on the 15. I'm going to go 15. 15 or over. I think he does. And part of that's me wanting to believe he does too, because we need it. But I'll go over.
You're not going to keep this guy. You see how frustrated he is when he hits balls that he knows normally are home runs, and they're not going out. He's coming back and banging his helmet on. He's frustrated because his strength is not back. He's not hurt. He's just not back to full strength. When he gets back to full strength, he's going to be hitting in that 3-hole again. And Castellanos is going to be hitting in the 4-hole.
Yep, and JT, but JT 9th for all I care.
JT.
And Trey. Why don't you go 8-9 with those two? Go 8-9 with those two.
For
until
my
they wake
money,
up.
yeah, until they start making adjustments, in-game adjustments that show me they're actually trying to change their approach, I'm not hitting them towards the top of the lineup. I'm sorry. Bryson Stott, he should be moved up to the 5-hole. Alec Bohm is tied for the lead in RBIs on the team, and he missed 11 days. How is he not up further in the lineup? I don't understand that.
He was my like, we had to do like you had to go real out on a limb and like do a bold prediction, right, for the start of the year. And he was a bold prediction to be in the MVP race in the whole league, right? And that's not just on the Phillies. Like, that was my bold prediction that he was going to really break out. And I bet you if he didn't miss 13 games, he's not winning the MVP. But
he'd be over 60 RBIs.
Be over 60 RBIs and maybe when the season's over, a top 12 to 15 finalist. I don't know, right? I mean, he would have to lose a lot more baseballs.
If I'm a pitcher and I got Bryce Harper hitting in the 4-hole and I got JT protecting him in the 5-hole, Bryce ain't getting nothing. Nothing. I would move Alec Bohm behind Harper because now that pitcher has to pitch because Alec Bohm is a gap-to-gap guy, and every now and then he catches a ball, barrels it, and lifts it. But more times than not, he is going to be a gap-to-gap, down the line drive hitter. Pitchers fear that a whole lot more than a guy like JT, who you can approach one way. Just pitch him away.
Yep, he's never
You
going to make
pitch him
the
away, you
adjustment.
take all his power away from him. He's not going to do any damage on a ball on the outer third of the plate.
Never. All right, listen, quick break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll play catch with Mitch. It'll be great. Looking forward to our catch. And we're hoping and we're praying for 3-3. We would leave Florida feeling good, right? But I think I speak for all of us. We'd love a 4-2.
4-2 would be outstanding, but 3-3 would be acceptable.
But we're good enough that let's go down there and let's make a little statement now. Let's have a bad taste in our mouth after losing the series against Washington, and let's get down. Beautiful Florida weather, and let's go kick some ass. So, quick commercial break. We're back on the other side. Stay with us.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Phillies Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
Mitch Williams here. If your company ships freight, join my winning team at Raymond Transportation Corporation. Let us become part of your team. RTC has been serving shippers nationwide for 26 years. With 10 terminals located throughout the U.S., volume LTL, small LTL, truckload, and rail. You can count on RTC to be the closer you need. I know firsthand that the Delaware Valley demands accountability. Call me at 800-206-3983 to schedule a meeting. Give me one shipment, and we will earn the rest.
You heard the man.
There you have it.
All right. So maybe it is my favorite part. I love talking baseball with you, period. But I do love having a catch with you. Maybe one day we'll have a catch. I'll swing down. I know you're going to be moving a little further away, but I'll swing. Maybe I'll swing down one time and we'll spin it around together. All right. So what we want to do every week is we want to go back to the future a little bit and have a little story time. So what I'm going to do is a good tease in radio is saying that and then having that be my last question. But I want to start with Luis Ariz, who's a guy we're going to go see in Miami, has a chance to bat 400 for the season. Do you think that happens?
No.
All right.
No, I don't. I just don't see it happening. Pitchers have to make the adjustments. And I think second half of the season, I think there's going to be a dramatic drop-off just because the wear and tear of the season. So, no, I don't think he's going to hit 400. And if he does and proves me wrong, more power to him.
Yeah, what a story. Tremendous. Minnesota kicking themselves, I'm sure, right now. Because he was a good hitter in Minnesota. It's not like it's not like the guy was batting 250 and all of a sudden figured out
he won the batting title.
Yeah, so if I'm Minnesota, I'm like, how do I have this guy get out of Dodge, first off? But he is. And if Miami, I got a diamond in the rough here because what a flat-out tremendous hitter. Contact's king. Contact will always win.
He just doesn't hit for a lot of pop.
Nope, that's it. But guess what? In today's game, the way it's shifting back a little bit too, those guys are coming back. And I'm excited to welcome these guys back.
I would love the game to shift back to where you hit and run, where you bunt a guy over. How often do you see hit and runs anymore?
I don't know if I've seen, to be honest with you, on all the Phillies games I watched, if I've seen one hit and run all year, I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
I'll tell you what, today's player, when I was managing down in Atlantic City, I had a kid that had been released twice by organized ball. And he hit second for me. Every single time the leadoff hitter got on, I put the hit and run on. You know what he hit that season for me?
What?
396. He didn't want to come back because he didn't want to hit and run. I said, oh, you're kidding me, right? You don't want to be on base almost you're getting hits almost 4 out of every 10 times up, and you don't want to come back because I'm taking your brain completely out of your at-bats. All you're doing is seeing the ball and putting it in play. That's where today's players are different.
And you're creating holes for him.
Yes.
You're opening up holes by doing that too. You're creating more space on the baseball field to, to get hits, right? I just want to get on base.
What people don't understand, when a hitter goes to the plate, and Tom, you can speak to this, there's questions in their mind. Oh, is it going to be a fastball? Is it going to be a curveball? Is it going to be a changeup? Well, when you eliminate one of the biggest questions there is, am I swinging the bat? That's a big question to eliminate. All you have to do is see the ball now. It doesn't matter what the pitch is. You have to put that ball in play. And this kid hit more triples and doubles for me with the hit and run on. But he didn't want to do it. To me, didn't belong in professional baseball because he didn't understand the way the game worked. The game works, how many runs can you score? That's how the game is decided. So if I was managing in the big leagues today, the 2-hole hitter, if my leadoff hitter gets on base and my 2-hole hitter comes up and my leadoff hitter after the 2-hole hitter's at bat ain't on second base, the 2-hole hitter has not done his job. That's his only job. Get the leadoff hitter to second base. I don't care how you do it.
Oh, Ryan, maybe my favorite lineup of all time, right? My favorite is the 2003 Marlins lineup. If you're talking about Juan Pierre and Luis Castillo, I love that lineup. They put pressure on you. They stole 1 million bags on you. You can literally hit the ground. Luis Castillo can literally hit a ground ball and beat it out. I think his speed to first base was 3.2 seconds. Count that out. 1, 2, 3. Better get rid of it. Better get rid of it. So I love that's a great drop in, Ryan. Great drop in. One of my favorite lineups for sure.
You want to find out about Trey Turner? You want to take some questions out of his mind? When the leadoff hitter gets on, start hitting and running with him. Take that question out of his mind. Am I swinging the bat this pitch? Take that question away from him.
And why can't he bunt too, Mitch? The guy flies.
He can fly.
I tell my hitters, right, when we talk about bunting at the lower levels, I'm not bunting to sacrifice anybody. I'm bunting you. I'm teaching you how to bunt so well that you're bunting for a hit and getting the guy over. You're double dipping it. You're double dipping it.
The really sad part is, I bet there aren't 4 guys on the Phillies team that can get a bunt down.
I know, it's sad.
That's what's sad. The bunt, and the best one is Stubbs, a catcher. He runs decent, but he can bunt the baseball. That is a weapon. I don't care what level of baseball you're playing at. If you can bunt, it's a weapon because it makes the defense make a play.
Yes. And like how many pitchers just throw up on themselves, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you watch it all the time. I call pitchers athletes, right? But there's a thing out there where like pitchers shouldn't catch a pop up and knock it off, right? If pitchers are athletes. So if a ball's hit right to you and you can catch the ball. All right, who cares? I don't need somebody calling you off. Like, catch the ball then. But
that's what always bothered me, Tom. I'm on the mound.
Yeah.
I can catch a fly ball. I can catch a pop-up. Dave Hollins was one of the best ever. We're in the playoffs against Atlanta. And I throw my warm-up pitches. They bring me in the 9th, I believe, in the NLCS. They throw the ball around after I throw my warm-up pitches. Dave gets it at third base, walks over from third base to the mound, puts the ball in my glove and says, anything popped up on this side, you got it. He hated pop-ups.
Oh, he hated pop-ups?
Could not stand them. Ryan Sandberg, all he ever did was point. When the ball went up in the air, he pointed. That's yours, Gracie. There's some guys that can't catch them. That's all I did. Every batting practice was take fly balls.
Yeah.
So why am I going to have a guy on a dead run from first base or from third base run up the hill when I'm standing under it and can make the play easily? That never made sense to me.
No,
But I will say
never
this.
did.
With today's day and age, they've got those PO pitcher only.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pitchers that couldn't play dead in the Western other than throw a baseball. They have no idea what they're doing athletically on a baseball
Oh,
field
yeah.
other than pitching.
Today's changed a lot, right?
Yes.
To your point, a lot more. All right, speaking of Dave, it goes into our story time. What is a good story that you can tell from the 1993 season around Dave Hollins?
Well, Davey was one of, if not my favorite teammate, because this guy, he played the game as hard as anyone could play it. And we're in Cincinnati one night, and myself, Larry Anderson, and David West are in the clubhouse like 5 minutes before the game starts. And I told a joke, and Larry and Westy and I were laughing. And Davey walks by and throws me in a locker. Think about the game. And I get out of the locker and I stand up and I go over to Larry and David and I said, hey, you might have to put bandages on me here in a minute. But I walk up to Dave and I said, hey, my game starts in 2.5 hours. If I start preparing to pitch now, I'll be burnt out by the time it's time for me to pitch. You go play your game, I'll play mine. And I stood there waiting to get punched. And Davey goes, okay. I was like, oh my, whew, thank God. He was probably the most competitive player I ever played with. He flipped a switch when it was game time. Me and Larry Boa, we're sitting in Wrigley Field on the bench. And Dave is out taking early ground balls from Vukovic. And Bo and I are laughing at each other because Dave's taking ground balls, throwing to first, working on things. Well, we laugh. The next thing we know, a baseball hits the dugout wall between our heads. Dave thought we were laughing at him. This is how competitive this guy was. I mean, me and Bo are sitting there like, what are you doing? But that's the kind of guy Dave was. He would do anything in the world to get better or make his teammates better. That's what I loved about him.
One of the greats, right?
Yes. One of the greatest competitors I ever played with.
And I was a young puppy during those times, and I could tell how competitive he was just from the TV, right? Well, not even being next to him, I could tell.
When Milt Thompson came over, Dave was taking batting practice, and he had the nickname, we called him Mikey, because he just had a split personality. He was different when he was serious. So he's in the cage. He takes a round of BP and didn't swing the bat too well in that round of BP. He's walking out of the cage, and Milt, being his first year there, goes, "You're all right, Davey." Dave looks at him and goes, "Dave's not here." And Milt was like, oh my. But it got all around the league that that was the one guy you did not want to play with. Play
against. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember the guy that I got traded for, Bob Scanlon, drilled him on purpose in Chicago. Dave went down and did one of the smartest things I've ever seen a hitter do that was going to charge him out. He went down, got back up, looked over his shoulder at the catcher, saw the catcher relax, and then took off after Scanlon. And it was not pretty. I mean, Dave he born and raised in Buffalo, New York. He had thick leather skin, and he was not afraid to fight anything.
And a team full of that, right?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
You know, that's why
that whole team would fight. It didn't matter. We would fight for each other. That's how the game's supposed to be played.
Yeah, absolutely should be. That's how it should be played. Mitch, another great show out of us.
Oh, enjoyed it, buddy.
Love doing it with you. Hopefully the Phillies continue to play good baseball like they have, because they're right in the mix. I know Don had one question. Don, I want to answer this for you quickly. Does Shohei Ohtani break Aaron Judge's home run record? He could. He absolutely could. He's the best player on the planet. Maybe the best player on baseball is on his team, and he's better than that guy. I mean, that's how good
Mike Trout
Shohei
doesn't
Ohtani
even
is.
get talked about.
Nope. Shohei
How
Ohtani's
sad
great.
is that?
That's how good that guy is. I mean, he's special. He's a competitor. You can see it. Trout there was a great interview of Trout talking about him the other day, and I think it was with the AJ. Maybe it was the AJ Brzezinski's on the podcast. I gotta go back and look at who it was. But there's a great interview with Trout talking about Shohei and him trying to keep him there, in Los Angeles. And he said, the way we keep him here is we win. We win. He's like, that guy's got plenty of money. He's like, trust me when I say he makes more off the field than he makes on it, because the guy is a rock star on steroids in Japan. I mean, that's how it is. He's a rock star on steroids in Japan. That's how much money he is making, not only in America. We're just talking about overseas where he's from. He's making more money there than anybody here can pay him. I'll promise you that. So the $600 million deals, he's making more over there just off of endorsements. Easily.
This guy is not a once in a generation. He's a 1 in 150 year player. To be able to do what he does on the mound and at the plate, I would venture to guess you will never see another player like this kid.
No, he's the best overall hitter in the game and arguably the best arm in the game. Like, you're not even talking about like top 5, he's the top 25 pitcher, right? But he's great at the plate, which would still be remarkable, right? We're talking about he's the top 3 pitcher in baseball and a top 3 hitter in baseball. And I would even argue he's 1 and 1.
How do you pay him that? Mike Trout's making over $400 million.
I think Crucker said it. Crucker said it great yesterday. Did you hear Crucker talk about it yesterday?
Yeah, you got to pay him $400 million as a hitter and $350 million as a pitcher.
And I'm like, Cruck nailed it. Anybody that was looking for the way you go about it, he's like, well, I think he said it yesterday. The way he said it made it sound like at the beginning he was saying $400 million. So he was like, well, you got to pay. It's about $400 million. That's just for him as a hitter. Exactly. And then you got to pay him another, like you said, another 3 to 4 as a pitcher. So I give him ownership. It makes sense. If I'm the Phillies, I know we're not in this conversation, but if I'm the Phillies, how much you want? Literally, I would slide the blank check across the table to him. That's how special he is.
It's one of those guys that, number one, if the Phillies were to do something like that and give him $1 billion.
Yep.
Give him $1 billion. Do you think John Middleton wouldn't make that back in fan attendance?
Oh.
They would be sold out every single night.
His jerseys are going to sell off the charts overseas is the biggest thing. Why the NBA, I'll leave it with that. We'll leave it with that. Why the NBA can pay the money they pay around to their players is because globally, nobody's bigger. Nope. Nobody is bigger than the NBA globally. They've done a great job of growing their game globally. Well, here's the opportunity for Major League Baseball that's starting to dive into this to do it. This is it. This is your meal ticket for this game to be that big globally. And you're just off of jersey sales globally, they make it back. If I'm John Middleton, I go to every owner. Everybody give me 1%. Everybody give 1% back because we're going to give it to this guy. Part of his deal.
He's growing the game on a global level. There's no question about that.
Great show, brother. I didn't want to keep it too long. We went on a tangent. Everybody out there, we love you. We appreciate it. Yup, done. You heard it here. Shohei to Philly confirmed. Here's the thing. That's Mitch Williams. I'm Tom Arnone. We thank you all. Everybody have a great 4th of July. Be safe. Yes, be smart. Enjoy it with your family. Mitch, see you again next week.
You got it, brother.